Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Rocky Brand live stream. I'm a little bit flustered, again, technical issues, just getting getting there in the nick of time. Happens to me every single week, doesn't matter how quickly or how long I take before the stream to get set up, something always goes wrong. Hey Fuad, as usual, as you say, you are the first, welcome on. Well, it's really warm in this room. Can't have the fan running though because it interferes with my microphone. So, yeah. So apologies if I'm a bit flustered at the start of this. Trying to gather my thoughts. Hey Tashinga, how you doing? Thanks for coming on. Hey Mobius. Yeah. Thanks for the compliment on the hat. I'm a big fan of Clutch. My favourite band. So, thought I'd make a change from the red hat today, so I'm wearing the Clutch one. Hey Mark, how you doing? Don't know if I've seen you on the stream before. Thanks for joining. You've joined on one where I'm like totally flustered at the start. I've got a big bottle of juice here because my voice is a bit croaky today. I know it's very uncouth drinking out of a bottle, but that's it, yeah. Hey Deshinga, yeah, I am very well, thank you very much. It's been a busy week. I've been looking forward to doing the live stream as ever. Made my mind up yesterday about the topic. I just thought I had a few questions actually over the week from some people on the YouTube channel, just on videos, just comments on videos, asking, different questions about colour, and I thought it would be quite good to just kind of have a quick chat about the tools that I use, the books that I use when I'm working with colour, and then we will have another look at a couple of logos which have been submitted for me to review and give some feedback on. So I have set up my webcam today to try to give a view of my desk so that we can look at some of this stuff. I don't know how well it's going to work out, but yeah, we'll give it a go and we'll see how we get on. I think that's the exciting thing about live streaming, isn't it? Is what could go wrong? What could we have a giggle at when it all goes pear-shaped? So let's just kind of jump in and have a look at some of the stuff that I use. So I'm going to move this keyboard out of the way, and I think the most obvious one to use is probably going to be my Pantone books. So let me just very quickly see if I can add in a video capture device. So I want to add in this. I'm just adding myself to the screen where my webcam is so that you can see me as I'm speaking to you. So let's edit studio mode. So let's move into webcam mode. Right, okay, so you should be able to see me now. And my books. Webcam's not the best, so it's going to give you some really kind of trippy 1970s music video effect, I think, whilst we're doing this. But when it's still, it should be fairly in focus. So one of my first tools are Pantone books. Whenever I'm working on logo designs, Pantone colors are kind of what keep me right. And the reason being is that, Pantone colors they're very carefully calibrated so that they always look the same when they're printed on a particular paper type. So if I was to print this color here, Pantone 2172, on this gloss paper, it would always look the same. If I was to have Pantone 2172 printed on uncoated paper of a specific type, it would always look the same. Now, the reason I'm saying on specific types of paper is that I could have Pantone 2172 printed on a gloss paper stock from one manufacturer and printed on a gloss paper stock from a different manufacturer, and it might look ever so slightly different because paper has an effect on the colour. So even though the ink which is being used is the same, the paper has an effect on it. But by making sure I use, I select a Pantone colour, if the client is going to be using Pantone, and that's the thing, if they're going to be using a Pantone spot colour as these are, then I know that every time they use that Pantone spot colour, they're going to get the same colour results. In saying that, not everyone uses Pantone. It can be expensive. Most of the time we use CMYK for printing, and for on-screen we use RGB. But the cool thing about Pantone spot colours is that you can pretty much replicate them in the RGB colour spectrum. So you can, have your Pantone spot colour, find the RGB codes which are in these books, and you will be able to see the Pantone colour on screen. But another caveat, and this is the annoying thing about colour, is that even though the RGB colour reference is coming from the Pantone spot book, like paper, depending on the model of the monitor that you're looking at, how well it displays colour, they're all going to have a different effect. So for example, I have 3 monitors around me. I have one colour calibrated one, which matches up to so when I see a Pantone colour on my screen, it matches the books. But I've got 2 cheaper monitors either side, which I just use as extra displays. And if I move, let's say it's Illustrator, if I move Illustrator with that RGB colour onto one of the other screens, it looks entirely different because they're not calibrated. But I know in my guidelines that it is the correct RGB colour. It's very difficult to control how people view colour on screens because there's so many variables. The only way to see it is by using these books. Just want to say a quick hi to Esteban for jumping on, almost at the beginning, Esteban, and Senthil as well. How you doing? We're just talking about Pantone books just now. So that was just a quick kind of thing to say, that a lot of things can affect colour. When I am working to create a logo, I always start with CMYK. The reason being, like I mentioned, we mostly print using CMYK colours. If I started by choosing a Pantone colour, I could run into issues when we start printing in CMYK. A bit like, how I said that Pantone can be replicated in RGB. It's the same if you move from RGB to CMYK. CMYK can't replicate the same breadth of colour that RGB can. And that's why you'll find if you start working in RGB in some really bright, vibrant colours, and then you change it to CMYK, they go really dull and flat because CMYK just cannot replicate that. So what I do is I tend to start with CMYK, and then once I've got my CMYK colours, I know that they will look the same in RGB because RGB can replicate CMYK. And then what I'll do is I will find the Pantone spot colour which closest matches the CMYK. Then I know that I've got sort of all of the colours are going to, no matter what my client prints, Pantone, CMYK, or on screen in RGB, it's going to look very, very close. Not exact, because we've got all these things that can change things. And that's why when I'm using Pantone books, I use what's known as the Colour Bridge books. So you get Colour Bridge and you also get Pantone Solid books. And the solid books are basically the Pantone spot colour. This can get really, really complex, okay? And apologies if you get a bit lost. So you get Pantone spot colours, which are basically a set of colours that Pantone mix up, and you can buy a tin of it, you wouldn't buy a tin of it because it's used by printers mostly. And you can say, okay, my Pantone colors for my brand are Pantone 200 and black C coated. The printer can get those in a tin and they know that they can be used. But that's only if you're using Pantone spot colors. So what I have here are called Pantone Colour Bridge books. And where these are really, really handy is, like I say, I start with CMYK. So these books, as you can see here, if this doesn't kind of freak out, there are two columns. Let me just hold this in a way that you can see it, all right? So there's two columns. You've got this column on the left and this column on the right. This left-hand column are Pantone solids. This right-hand column is the CMYK equivalent of this Pantone solid or Pantone spot color. Now, there are a lot of Pantone spot colors which you can get a CMYK which closely matches. Now, this is going to be difficult to see on this crappy webcam, but there are certain colors which do not do well in CMYK. And one of the, you can probably see here, this orange, it's a really, really bright orange, Pantone 2018. Over on the right, for me in person, it's really dull and muted, almost orangey brown. It's not a vibrant orange. I think you can kind of see that. The more I bring it forward, the more it kind of misses. You can't really see it so well on here. Let's see if we can find... Vibrant greens are another one which you can have issues with. Okay, green's not showing up very well on my camera. Crappy camera. I knew this wouldn't be great for doing a color video. But I think these purples, you can kind of see it on these purples. So these are really, really vibrant in person. And then on the other side in CMYK just cannot replicate them. So where these books help me, as I say, I start with CMYK. So what I do is I pick my books and I go, okay, I have a rough idea of the color scheme I want. I want to use a purple and a green. So what I'll do is I'll open up my Pantone Colour Bridge books at the greens. And I will look for, if I'm looking for a bright green, I will look through the book. Now these look terrible on this webcam. These are much brighter in person. And I will look down the CMYK and I will look across at the Pantone spot. And if I can find one where the Pantone spot color matches closely the CMYK, that's generally the one that I will go for. Because I know that my client's going to be able to get a Pantone solid print if they need it. Generally, you know, a lot of things like printed merchandise, single color, two color, they will often ask for your Pantone color reference. And so that's why, you know, I still to this day make sure my clients have a Pantone spot color reference. Some people don't do that. Some people don't do spot colors. They just do CMYK, RGB, and hexadecimal. Hexadecimal is essentially RGB. It's just a different code format for it. But I always do Pantone spot as well. And I also give RAL colors, and we'll touch on that in a second. Not many people do RAL colors. So this book, or these books, are very, very important to me to make sure that I get color consistency across my brand, my client's brand color palette. They're not cheap. They can be quite expensive. I really don't know how much they are brand new right now. They're probably about £300, something like that, which is what, about $400. I was actually quite lucky. I got these two books for half that price on Amazon in the marketplace, and it said they'd been used, but when they arrived, the box hadn't even been opened. It was still in cellophane. The box had a little dent on the corner, but the books inside were brand new, still all completely sealed. So there are some deals out there if you can find them. And these are a little bit more expensive than just the spot color books because they have the spot colors in them and the CMYK in them. So you're actually kind of getting 2 sets of books, but in one set, because you can get CMYK color books from Pantone, and as I say, Pantone Spot Color. So you would end up with 4 books, but here we've got them condensed into one book, and it also saves you from having to hold a CMYK book and then a Pantone Spot book and overlay them and try to find matches. Because they're all on the one page, you can just basically scan your eye down and find them out. So that's the first big tool that I use when I'm working with colour. I wonder if this camera is better. Focus is a bit crap, but you can actually see that my Canon DSLR shows the brightness of these greens. Sorry, the lights are all reflecting. I need to get a better studio setup for dealing with colour, I think. I just spotted Senthil's comment, Beard Man. Got it tied up today so it doesn't distract everyone. Okay, so that's the Pantone Colour Bridge books. Now, what I mentioned as well was I mentioned RAL. So RAL doesn't get talked about too much. Sort of online, it's always Pantone, CMYK, RGB. But RAL can come into play quite a lot for clients. RAL is a colour, again, set of colours which tend to get used when it comes to things like plastics and vinyl. So if you're getting some vehicle graphics done, or you're choosing some plastics for a specific purpose, or your client is, then you're going to want to know the RAL colours. Now, there aren't as many RAL colours as there are Pantone colours, so you're a bit more limited on what you can get. So generally, if you've got your Pantone Spot Color and your CMYK and your RGB, you're really just trying to find the RAL color which is the closest. You're not going to get an exact match on these, but it is handy if you are, if your client needs or is requested. So let's say they're getting some vehicle graphics done. The company that's doing the vehicle graphics may say, okay, do you have a specific RAL color for your brand colors? And sometimes you may, and sometimes you may not. So these are important if you're going to be having vinyl cut from stock vinyl, so vinyl that comes on rolls. Another option when you're getting vinyl prints done is that the printer can use white vinyl and print your brand colors onto that vinyl. That tends to be more expensive though, which is why it's often better if you can get a close color match using RAL. It's cheaper for the production. And you do get, again, you might not see this here, but you do get some really vibrant sort of neons. There are some like pearlescent and sort of metallic colors you can get as well, like gold and silver and copper. Mark's saying in his 32 years he's never been asked for a RAL color. Lucky you. How much stuff do you do, like vehicle graphics and things like that, Mark? I do quite a lot of it, and so I always specify this. Same if you're working with architects. If you get an architect who's asking for stuff, they'll generally want RAL colors. Like I say, it's in the scheme of things, RAL colors, I wouldn't stress too much about it. I just do it because it's something. I used to work. I worked in a sign writing company, doing vehicle graphics and stuff. So it's part of my design history, part of my career. And so having worked in a in an environment where we did vehicle graphics and worked with RAL and plastics and vinyl, it's something which I do. And so as I have experience in it, it's something which I feel, well, you know what, I can give those colors to clients as well, but it's not an absolute necessity. Yeah, you can. I mean, Mark's saying there that he's dealt with a lot of vehicle graphics, but I've always dealt with Pantone. See, there's where we differ. I've never done Pantone with vehicle graphics. Ever. I've only ever given CMYK colors, or if they're going to be printing it, or I've dealt with RAL. I suppose it comes down to the printers that you use as well, and their methods of working. So it's really interesting. You know, you can see there's lots of different ways of doing it, which is interesting. I only really do vehicle graphics for clients who are local to me because I have a really good relationship with the printers. I tend not to get involved if it's a long distance thing. There's a rare occasion. I'm actually doing it right now though for a client in Kuwait. I'm working on some vehicle graphics for them, but they have RAL color specified in their brand guidelines, which because I created their brand identity, so I was kind of happy to do that. Tashinga saying only knows of the printing color on white vinyl. Okay, well this time I'm going to bring in another book here. So we'll talk about RAL. We've got this little book here. So this isn't really a color specification book, but this is a book which I refer to quite a bit as well. So this is an Oracle book, and this is 651, and I think the different numbers mean durability, I think, in terms of that. And this is a book of vinyl. So these are all vinyl samples. So I have this on hand if I need, you know, if a client wants some stuff printed in and they want it from cut vinyl rather than printed on white. So I know that Oracle have all of these colors available, and then in conjunction, you know, with my RAL book, I can also see, right, okay, well, you know, my client's RAL color is this green here. Is there a green which matches really closely? And generally with these two books, my RAL one and my Oracle, and I know that the printers that I work with, it's Oracle that they use, so I can make sure that I'm getting the best match for my client when I'm doing that. So I got this from my printer. So if you've got a printer that you work with closely, you can ask them and see if they'll get you a book. They usually get them from their suppliers, and they'll have quite a few of them, or you can buy them online. I forgot to say this RAL book I think was about £15. It's about $20. It's not as expensive as Pantone books. So if you did want to have one to hand, it's not that expensive to get a RAL one. You'll spot as well, if you do go into somewhere like Amazon and looking for a RAL book, you'll see RAL K7 and you'll also see RAL K5. The difference in number is purely the sizes of these swatches. So a K5 book, every page is like this Oracle book. So the whole page is the swatch color. So if you get a K5, it will look like this. And if you get a K7, it will look a little bit more like a Pantone book, where it's a series of swatches on each page. So yeah, so that's like a little looky into sort of more the plastics and vinyl side of things for color. But as Mark said, you know, you can specify Pantone as well. I'm not sure. I'd imagine you can, but I've never seen in person Pantone colored vinyl. But I'd imagine it probably exists, you know, or it's just a white vinyl which has been printed with Pantone inks. I'm not sure. Another last Pantone book, just to kind of that I use, is I have this one, which is the metallic one. Every now and again, I'll do some printing with metallic inks. And if it's a metallic ink, it's generally going to be a 5th ink on a CMYK color job, or it's going to be a low color Pantone spot job of, you know, 1 metallic ink normally on a paper stock. So these are all Pantone metallics. This book's slightly wider, as you can see, because on each of these pages, down this side here, it's perforated, so I can actually tear out a swatch. If I needed to send it to a client, I could tear it out and send that swatch to the client so that they can see in person. You can actually get the same for these. You can buy sheets, individual sheets of swatches, or you can buy chip books. They are expensive. They are expensive. I've never really needed to do that. But in studios I've worked in the past, we had Pantone chip books and we would send them to the clients. But I don't really do that right now. Mark's asking what I use to calibrate my monitor. I will be getting to that shortly. I'm kind of running through that piece of particular hardware because it's important for me anyway. You know, I think it's important that you at least color calibrate your monitor. You can also color calibrate printers that you have, but that's a really technical setup to get right, and you've got to use, you know, good printers, good inks. I don't go that far because I don't really do any printing here. I just calibrate my monitor so that I'm seeing a decent representation of what's in my books. What else have we got? Yeah, just generally, I have a collection of different books as well that I can quickly reference. This one's got a CD in it. It shows you how old this one is. It's got a CD of all the palettes which are in here. But this one's called Color Harmony Logos. And it just basically is lots of pages showing different color palettes on different logos. They do go into some big brands. I think Burger King and stuff is in here, sort of looking at their color palettes. But just when I'm, you know, if I'm maybe looking to try to find an interesting combination, I'll just quickly, you know, flick through some of these books that I have. Like I say, this is just one of them. I'll flick through, see if anything kind of catches my eye. There's the Burger King one. Obviously the older logo. And, you know, it just helps to kind of spark some ideas for color palettes. Some of the color palettes in this book are terrible. I don't know, you know, why they've put them together. But, you know, you never know. And then I just want to touch on one thing here. Let's see if I can bring this up. Yeah. So this is Pantone Connect. Okay, so I've got a few more things coming. Let me just check the chat before we jump into this. Tashinga saying, off topic, is your desk wrapped? It is indeed. It is. It has been wrapped in what was it again? Yeah, Oracle Color 31. So yeah, this is just a brown wooden desk, and I just vinyl wrapped it. I've got my my drawers underneath my desk are wrapped in vinyl as well. I just like to keep everything on brand where I am. But yeah, this desk is a very large desk. It's a 2 meter wide desk by 1 meter, and it's got a big curve in the front of it. That was stressful, trying to hold a big sheet of vinyl, and then once the vinyl touches the desk, it's really sticky, and if you try to pull it, it then stretches. Yeah, it was pretty. I messed up the first time, and I had to go and get more vinyl, and just took my time with it the second time. But yeah, no, it looks good. It looks better than the brown that I had. So this is Pantone Connect. Now, I don't know, some of you may have watched a video which I have on my YouTube channel, which is how to add or update your Pantone books in Illustrator. And to do that, I use a piece of software called Pantone Color Manager. And with that, what I can do is I can basically open that software, choose the Pantone color books that I want, and I can export them into my Adobe software, InDesign, Photoshop, and Illustrator. Really easy, quick, and simple to do. But Pantone, in their wisdom, have decided that they are going to phase that out. So we won't be able to do that anymore. And it is frustrating because when you install the Adobe software, it does install Pantone books, but they are really, really old versions of the books. They're like 10 years old. And so if you have those 10-year-old books installed, you're actually missing out on about 800 or so new Pantone colors. So you're restricted to that old version or that old selection. And you can kind of run into problems if a client, so let's say you get a new client and they already have their brand identity and they've got their brand colors, and they say, oh, we would love you to design a new brochure for us or something like that. And they say, we need you to use our Pantone spot colors on the cover. And you're like, yeah, no problem. You might not have them because it might be from one of the newer books. And that can be really, really frustrating. Now, you can still set up the artwork, because all you do is you just create the layer which has the Pantone spot, and you tell the printer, okay, this layer here is going to be Pantone 3057, right? So even though you can't see on your screen, you can still tell them that that's the color that needs to go there. But, ideally, you want to see what that color looks like on the artwork so that you can make sure that everything's balancing up. So yeah, it was really important that you update your books, and I don't think many people do. I think they just run with those books. But using Pantone Color Manager, I could update those books, so I'm using the latest versions, so that when I find a color in this, because this is the latest 2020 book, if I find a color in here and go, yeah, I really like that, I want to be able to see that color in Illustrator. But if I've only got the older books installed, I'm not going to be able to see it because it's not there. So, as I say, they've decided that they're going to phase out that, and what they're going to be using instead is this, and it's called Pantone Connect. Now, full disclosure, I really haven't looked into Pantone Connect. I am going to be doing a video on it, but I need to spend more time with it. So I've not really used it that much. They're constantly developing it right now. And as far as I'm aware, it's still free, but it won't be free forever. It will have a price put on it. So I think if you use it just now, you can use it for free. There is an Adobe Illustrator extension that you can install, which gives you access to this, and we'll jump over to Illustrator in a second. But you can see here, as my mouse hovers, it's bringing up all the Pantone swatches, and if I kind of click on that little drop down menu, here are all the Pantone books. The ones that most of the people who are watching this video will be interested in are these top ones. So this is the Pantone Spot Color Formula Guide, and then these two here are the two books that I've got, Color Bridge Coated and Color Bridge Uncoated. So if I click on Color Bridge Coated, what it will do is it will update this screen and then show me all the colors which are in my book. You can quickly click and it will, show you all the hues that you're interested in. So if you're wanting to do, like I said earlier on, if you want to do something that was sort of in the purple and green ranges, you can bring them together so you can kind of, have a quick look at what's available in that Pantone range. You can't do what we used to do, so you can't export full books into Illustrator using this software. What you do is I think you just basically choose the colors that you want, color scheme, then you save the palette, then you can access the palette through the Connect extension in Illustrator. It's got a converter, so what you can do is you can choose, if you've got your CMYK colors, you just type in your CMYK colors and it will bring up the closest Pantone spot color for you based on the book that you've got selected. So if you were looking for a metallic color version of, you know, a CMYK, you would have the metallics selected and you would type in your CMYK numbers or your RGB numbers or your hexadecimal code straight into there, or you can use the color dropper, you know, and pick a color. So we picked that, and then if we pick that, and then if we search, it'll bring up the metallics which are closest to that green. And you can see here that the metallics is way more limited, so we're not going to get anything which is as vibrant as the green which I selected. So you're only going to get, you know, this one here, Pantone 10326, is probably the lightest one that you're going to get. It's got other tools as well though, like harmonies. You know, so if you put in a color code, it'll bring up harmonies. I'm not going to go into all of this because I will do that in the video. I will go through everything. They've got a beta here of color schemes. So what you can do is you can have a photo, and you can bring the photo in and you can select a color palette from that photo. That can be really handy when you're designing brochures and things, so that you've got this harmony of the colors and matching up with the photography on the page. But the way that they want you to use this mostly, back to webcam, is by using, or not mostly, but what they're driving is they have an app. So this is going to be, again, probably too glaring on my screen because of the lights that I've got around me. But they have an app, and just like the bit that we looked at there, what you can do is you can extract color from a photo. So earlier on, I took a photo of my hand holding my RAL book. And on the screen, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, there are some circles. And what you can do is you can tap on a circle and move it around. And where you drop it, it actually creates a palette. So you can see here, I don't have an orange at the minute. If I drag this back onto the orange, it will update the Pantone swatches and give me that selection there. Again, you can't really see because the light is really blaring it out, but there are some Pantone names underneath there. Yeah, anyway, then what you can do is you can then create a palette, give it a name. So if I call that test palette, you can give it a description. I'll just call it Rocky Brand. You can add tags to it as well, and then you can save it. So that's now saved. So if we go to my desktop, this is Adobe Illustrator, and I've got Pantone Connect in here. And you can drop colors, so you can, like, you know, have a color and drop it in, and it'll choose the closest Pantone, again based on what book you've got selected. But what I should be able to do is I should be able to now go to palettes, and this is one from earlier, so I'll just confirm that deletion. But this palette here is the one that I've just saved on my phone, on my iPhone. I'm pretty sure this is available on Android phones as well, not just Apple hardware. So if for example you were out and about, you know, and you saw, you know, you want to take some photos of something, whatever it is, you'd be able to use Pantone Connect and create a palette wherever you are, save it, and then when you fire up Illustrator, you'll be able to access that palette. what they have, so you can use the app just like that, okay? You can just take a photo, move these little dots around, choose the colors that you want. And let's move this darker one down to here. You can see that's all changing. And you can do all that in the app. But what they have as well is they have this card. Now, Pantone, again, full disclosure, Pantone sent this to me when they asked me to do a review of this software. So this is a little card, and it's like a little registration card. And what you do is there's a hole in it. See my fingers through there. So there's a hole in it. And what you do is you put it onto the surface that you want the color of, and you I'm not entirely sure how this works because I've not really looked at it yet, but let's see. Yeah, I'm a bit lost with it. So that's why waiting on me doing the video of this is going to be better. But essentially, you can see here now. So on my phone, it says, let's see if we can see that. It says align the card and tilt the phone to the right. Okay, so I've got the card, and then I have to align it. So I've put that down. I have to align it with the card. Ooh, align the card and tilt the phone to the right. Anyway, so what that does is it's taking a reading. You can't see my phone because it's off screen. But what it was doing was it took a photo of the card, and these colors that are all around here help the app calibrate so that the color that's in the middle that you're trying to grab is more accurate. But I think it very much depends on the lighting of the room that you're in. And that's why I've not done a video on this yet, because I need to do a lot more experimenting with this to see, you know, if I take this orange, right, and I do that here in this lighting, and then if I go outside and do it in daylight, is it going to give me the same recommended colors, or is it going to be wildly different? So that's my only sort of not concerns, but I just feel that there's a lot of factors that could, you know, interfere with that. I actually think I prefer just having a photo, or, you know, and then being able to kind of drag the color so I can see that. But and what I do want to do is I'm going to use a Pantone book, and I'm going to put this over a Pantone swatch, and I'm going to use the app, and I'm going to see if it gives me the Pantone swatch or if it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then how accurate is it going to be? So I am going to be very honest in this video. You know, Pantone aren't paying me to do the video. They did send this. I think this card costs about 20 quid. They did send me this, but I did say, you know, I'm going to be very honest with this, because I do have I am a bit annoyed that they are removing Pantone Color Manager, but just because it's so easy to use. But at the same time, this app does have a lot of features. I just wish that one of the features, and they may bring it in, you know, it may be due to demand, they may bring it in, the ability to still do what Pantone Color Manager does, and that is export full books into Illustrator. I've backed up my Pantone swatch files in case I need to reinstall Illustrator at any point, and then I can just drop them back into my folder, because there is a chance now with Pantone Color Manager being deleted, if I need to reinstall Illustrator, I would lose all of those books, and there's no way to get them in there again. So it will be, it is a request that I would probably make, that they do add that as a feature to those books. Let's see. Yep, we've got Swatshows as well. Well reminded, Mark. The box had been pushed way over to the side. So, webcam. Back to webcam. So, for those of you who watched one of my live streams, must be a couple of months ago now, I did an unboxing of this when it was sent through. I bought these as a Kickstarter. You can now buy them online, but I backed this as a Kickstarter. I know the person who created these, and I just wanted to support them by helping them with the Kickstarter. I have been using these a lot. You know how I said earlier that I start with CMYK whenever I'm creating logos and I'm choosing the color palette? I start with CMYK. Well, I used to use my Pantone Color Bridge books to just kind of see what CMYKs I want. But with the Swatshows, I now use these. I now use these cards because I find them super quick to work with. And unlike the Pantone books, if I'm trying to build a 4-color palette, and I've got like a pink and then I'm trying to get a blue, then I'm having to sort of hold pages up next to one another, and it gets really fiddly to do. With Swatshows, it's really easy. I can just kind of, they're all a bit out of order, but I can go, I want a powder blue, I want a powder pink, and then I want this is going to be a terrible color palette, and then I want a light, sort of a blue-green color, and then I can kind of sit them together and play around with them, and then on the reverse of each card, you have tints and shades as well, so you can kind of have a look at, so you've got the color on the front, and it gives you the CMYK reference and also the hexadecimal reference on the front there, and on the back you can see what that color is going to look like with tints and shades, so you can kind of have a quick reference to see, well, actually, these are maybe a little bit too light. What happens if I go a bit darker? What's that going to look like? And I just find these really, really quick to work with. And then once I've got my CMYK palette that I've put together, I then jump over to my Pantone Color Bridge books, find the CMYK equivalent in there, and check it against the Pantone spot colors. These are fairly inexpensive, again, compared to Pantone Colour Guides. If I jump over to the web again, where's my web? So they're £32, which is probably about $40. Depending on what you buy or how many you buy, you can get free shipping with it. Because these are so inexpensive, inexpensive is, depends on where you live and stuff like that. I get that. But again, compared to Pantone books, they are fairly inexpensive. If I'm working with a client and we're trying to choose their brand color palette, it can be hugely frustrating, and I'm sure many designers have that, because you're trying to discuss color over long distances, and like I say, their monitor may be set up differently, and they're looking at a red. So you choose a red and you go, this is the red that I'm thinking of, and you're looking at it and it's quite bright on your screen, and you're like, yeah, it's a nice bright red. They open up a PDF and they're looking at it, but on their screen it looks like a dark red, and they say, yeah, I like that red. So you think they're saying they like a bright red, but actually they're liking a dark red. everything goes ahead, everything gets signed off. You then print some materials for them and it arrives on their doorstep and they're like, no, that's not the red that I agreed on. I agreed on a dark red. This is a bright red. And it just gets messy. And it's the worst part, for me anyway, of dealing with colour, is making sure that the client is signing off on the colours that I'm specifying. Swatshows being so inexpensive means that when I have a client come on board, and I've already done this, I've bought another box of Swatshows and had them posted direct to the client. And by doing that, I can then say, here's the color palette that I'm thinking of using for your brand. It's card number 64, 75, and 41. That client can then open their Swatshows deck, pull those cards out, and we're now looking at exactly the same colors. So if they then say, oh, I'd maybe like something a little bit lighter than that, then we can both look through the Swatshows deck and pull out the right color. That's going to save a lot of time and potentially save money if you print something and the client was just not on board with it and it has to be reprinted. So I think that that's definitely something worth doing. If you work, if you're doing print colors or you're specifying colors for clients, it's an inexpensive way of making sure you're both on the same page. Now, if the client is local to you, then you could just go along with your Swatshows deck and just, you can both look at the colors. But then if they're local to you, I can do that with my Pantone books as well. But for any clients which are longer distance, then using these is a great way to make sure everybody's on the same page. I do have a link for these actually. If you want, if you want to get a deck for yourself, I'll put the link into the chat in case anybody wants to get one. Mark, I'm pretty sure you bought Swatshows, didn't you? By the way, anyone who's looking at the chat, Mark is Resourceful Designer. Mark has an amazing design podcast as well. If you want to check it out, just do a search for Resourceful Designer, and you will learn a shitload from Mark from his podcast. So definitely check that out. So let me just pixels.inc. So if you use that link there, pixels.inc/Swatshows, you'll get a 5% discount when you buy a deck. We're all trying to save money these days, so feel free to use that link and you get 5% off. Highly recommend it. As Mark says there, he loves his Swatshows. They're just so handy and they're such a great size. They've been made to a really, really nice specification. It's just one of those things that until you have them, you wonder how you got by without them. It's just one of those tools that just, I'm surprised nobody's really done. I mean, there maybe is something like this, but the way that Andy created these, Andy Brown, by the way, is the one that created these. He's also created a couple of handbooks, which I've mentioned as well. Actually, I should have mentioned those. Where have I got those? These books as well. Let's just jump back on the webcam. So Andy also created these print handbooks, and these are really, really useful. They've got, colour in them as well, and they also talk about different print processes and what effect that will have on your print and on your colour. It talks about halftone, a little bit of information about spot colours, RGB and CMYK, like say halftone screen, different sizes of paper that you can get, one color bitmaps. Really, really useful resource. And he's got two. One is for litho printing and one is for digital printing. So two very different processes. I have to say that digital printing these days is getting really, really close to litho printing in terms of quality. The technology's just come on so far. I remember when I used to get some digital prints, you know, a long time ago, you know, like 15, 20 years ago, and the quality was just dreadful, but it was cheap, you know, but the quality was dreadful. But the technology's come on now, and it is a lot better. But these are really, really handy books to have. And Andy's actually, you know, you can buy these as well on his other website, which is printhandbooks.com, I think. So this site here, so it's printhandbook.com. And I'll put that into here as well. Let me just pin that message. So that's you can buy those print handbooks. They're £9 each, and you can see here that he's got a link to Swatshows as well. But if you want to get that 5% discount, you need to use my pixels.inc link. But that will take you over to Swatshows. He's also got some posters and cards and things. But the Swatshows and the print handbooks are the two really useful tools to have when you're working with color as well. So yeah, thanks for the reminder, Mark. I think this box would have sat over at the side and I would have completely forgotten all about it. I got too in depth with the Pantone Connect stuff. So it's not a case of, you know, I would never, for me, I would never recommend if you're specifying colors for a client, for a logo or whatever, you know, you're working with colors, I would never really trust what I see on screen. And I'm going to talk about how I calibrate my screen shortly. But if you were like, I'm not going to use any books, I'm not going to buy any books, I'm just going to look at the colors on my screen, and maybe you only do digital work, maybe you're only doing stuff for on-screen work, that's fine, you know, you can just do that. But if you're working in the area of brand identity and you're creating, you know, color palettes for brands, then you really need to have, you know, hardware. You need to have books where the color is printed in them. Let's see if I can pick this up here. So the next thing that I'm just going to quickly touch on, because Mark asked as well, is that I use a color calibrator for my screens. And what that does is that basically it sits on your monitor and it goes through a range of color swatches. And the color calibrator looks at those swatches and the brightness of your screen. It will also look at black and white and grey. And it will calibrate. I don't know how it does it. I don't know the technical, what's going on with it. But basically, it adjusts your screen so that it's displaying colors the most accurately that it can. And the tool that I use for that is an X-Rite i1 Display Pro. Now, this just sits on my shelf. And then there's a little light sensor here. And what you can do is you can set it so that if the room light changes, it adjusts your monitor to compensate for the light in the room so that you're still sort of seeing accurate color. I generally don't have that on as an option because my room light is usually fairly constant. But if you've got, you know, a lot of windows and the light's changing, then you can set that up and it will take a reading of the room lighting. But what you do is when you're calibrating, this swivels. So this bit swivels here, and then you've got this light sensor. You can see the glass lens there, and then that sits on my monitor. and it reads the color swatches, and then it creates a color profile which saves to my computer for that monitor. Now I have 3 monitors, and as I said, the two side monitors, they're not cheap. They're actually they're good Dell monitors, but they're very old. So they're from like 2005. They're very old. They cost me a lot of money back then. They were the best color calibrated monitors, but they've kind of gone. They're just very old. But I still calibrate them. And the reason that you need to, the thing I should mention as well is that even once you calibrate your monitor, over time, the colors shift. So you have to calibrate your monitors quite regularly. I do it every 4 weeks. I have a little warning that kind of comes up that tells me I need to calibrate my monitor. And you can then click a button that says before and after, and you can see that the colors have shifted. And so this is a tool which, I've used a color calibrator for a long time, and this one's been really, really good. I found this one a good one to use. I did have a cheaper one. It was called a Pantone Huey, which did an okay job. But then I got this, which is, sort of a little bit of a step up from that. Let's see. Mark said I used to love the Pantone Huey for monitor calibration, but Pantone discontinued to stop supporting it. Yeah, so like I say, I had a Pantone Huey. It's still I've still got it in a box down here. But like you say, it's not supported anymore, so the drivers are, it's just not worth using it because it's not up to date. But I've had really good success with this X-Rite. So it's got quite a long lead, and it's got like a weight on it, so that when you sit it on your monitor, the weight kind of holds it so it doesn't like fall. Generally, you have to tilt your monitor so that this sits at a slight angle, so that this sits flush against, or this bit anyway, sits flush against the monitor. But yeah, that's another tool to use if you want to make sure that you're, what you're seeing is is really well calibrated. Another tool, another piece of hardware is to get a really good monitor. Get a monitor which is made for designers. I have Dell Ultra Sharp Pro Color. They're not cheap, they are expensive, but they have, most monitors will have a high sRGB color range, normally 100%. You'll be able to see the whole sRGB color range. But with the Pro Color models, I can see the full range of Adobe RGB, which is even wider, which means I can see more Pantone spot colors, which move into the Adobe RGB range. And it just means that things are, again, much more accurate when I'm working with color. If you're only doing digital work, so let's just say you only design websites or whatever, then you can get away with having a monitor which displays sRGB. But at the same time, there are different qualities of display. So, sRGB can look different on different monitors. And you would still probably want to color calibrate a monitor as well. Most of the Pro monitors will come pre-calibrated, and they will have an option in the menu to reset that color calibration. So it's almost like using one of these. But I still use this, even though I have a even though I have a high-end monitor, I still tweak that every now and again. Stamatia is saying, you send swatches to your client. This is such a nice tip. There's just, it was just one of those things. It's just going to make it easier for you, as well as the client. Like in the past, I have sent Pantone chips, or what I've done. In the past, what I've done is if we're trying to figure out a red, I've said to a client, find a magazine, see if you can find a red that you like. And then they've cut it out or torn out the page, and they've posted that page to me. And then I've then taken my Pantone books and matched it to that red just to get the right color. Just had to wait a couple of days. But to prevent waiting a couple of days, what you can do is you can buy these and send them on to your client, and you don't have to wait. You can have a Zoom call, you can both go through the colors, and you can have a chat about it. Makes things so much easier. And all you need to do is you just need to factor this into your pricing. Just put your pricing up to include the cost of one of these packs. I know that not everyone's charging a huge amount of money for logo design. You might only be charging $100. If you then got to spend $40 on a pack, and then you're almost losing half of your money. But I would say you shouldn't be designing a logo for $100 anyway. You're more valuable than that. But as you move up and you start charging more, then these are the types of things that actually give the client value. When they're working with you and you send this to them, what are they going to think? They're going to think, wow, this person's really organized. They're really thinking about me, how we can collaborate on this. It's going to make a big difference by thinking ahead like that. It shows that you're organized, shows that you're planning, that you're trying to mitigate any potential problems. So £32, $40, it's going to work, and it's going to be, it's going to be good for you. So I think I don't think I missed any questions. Just want to say hi to a few people that I missed. Jay, sorry I didn't see you come on. Missed you coming on there, Jay. Didn't say hi to Abu, who asked talked about sublimation printing color. I've not really done any sublimation printing. I know it's a specific technique. I've heard about it for like t-shirt printing and stuff like that, but I really don't know much about that, so I don't want to kind of comment on that. I know my limitations, and I don't want to try to be clever and talk about something that I don't know much about. It's not something which I've really got that involved with. So sorry I can't really say much more on that. So we're just past the hour on that one. So what I thought we'd do is we could look at another couple of logos today. Still got people sending them in to me. If you want to send in your logo, very quickly, Mark saying, I believe you can order replacement cards from Swatshows to replace the ones you send to clients. Interesting. I wonder if is that on the website? I would like to kind of just have a quick look into that. Yeah, see that's there. Maybe you can tell me if there's a thing on the books. Yeah. To be honest, I think, I don't know how much it would cost for a card. Let's say it was £1, and then you post that out, and it's, 50 pence, so £1.50 to send that out to them. I suppose that's a lot cheaper to do. But I think for me, I'm really only sending these out as part of logo projects, and I charge more than enough to be able to absorb the cost of sending a whole deck out to them, and it may be useful, for future stuff as well. And I know that the client would probably find it useful. But that's really good to know if Andy's allowing people to buy individual cards. I think that's a really cool service to have. Tashinga saying, I was an intern at a printing house, and for printing flags, boy oh boy, must you be ready for sweating. I just color and printing and stuff like that can be pretty stressful. at times, you know, especially if it's going to be a big expensive job with lots of different finishes and different print techniques, embossing, foil, varnishes. You know, I've done some really complex brochures in my time, and it's nerve-wracking waiting on that print run being done and hoping, you know, that it's all okay. Even if you've seen a proof, you know, printed proof, and you're like, that looks fine, that looks okay. You know, if you're getting thousands printed and it's like multiple thousands of pounds in costs, it's quite nerve-wracking doing printing. I don't do a huge amount of printing these days. More and more clients are just doing digital stuff. So actually, when you do get a printing job come in, it's actually quite a nice change, and I enjoy doing it. Whereas before, when it was all printing jobs and everything was piling up, it gets a bit stressful. So let's jump over to Illustrator. So like I say, let's have a quick look. Just going to I'm not going to spend too long on these logos. I'm going to do 2 today. Chosen 2. For anyone that's watching, if you want to submit a logo for review, you can do so at the link that I'm typing into chat just now, which is ryb.rocks. I should get a thing that I can display on screen, or I could just type it on screen, but I'll put it in chat. So it's ryb.rocks. I think it's / logo. Let me just check. Don't want to give you guys the wrong link. ryb.rocks / logo. Yes. So you can submit a logo to me, and I can review it. Just read the information which is on here, fill in all the fields, and then you can attach some files, and then you'll get asked a really hard mathematical question, and then submit it to me, and then your logo may get chosen for review on the channel. So, first logo, let's get rid of Pantone Connect. So this logo is from Connie, and the brand name is CC Natural Skincare. The sector is for natural organic skincare, and target audience is primarily women aged 30 plus, middle class and wealthy. I also formulate hair care products along with anti-aging skin products for both men and women, also for a diverse culture. Brand personality. My brand personality is serious yet young at heart, elegant, sophisticated, a pretty brand, and an eye catcher, if that makes sense. The brand qualities: highest quality formulated except with natural organic ingredients that are equally as effective as the high-end stores but at a lesser price. And some additional info. So Connie's saying that she's got this logo, but there's just something about it that she's not pleased with. It seems like it would not be for the audience that I'm targeting. Would you mind letting me know why I'm not totally satisfied with this logo? It's not a bad logo, but I feel it's not quite right either. Thank you. Okay, so I think the first thing to say is that there are some artworking things sticking out at me here. Like the double C, which is, you know, or this shape, which is, I presume, meant to be the double C, is not very well made. You know, it's got, now if we go into outline view and we zoom in, you know, everything might look okay-ish at small sizes, but you know, there are like, these should be really straight. You've got kinks on the end here. The lines are kind of getting, you know, they're fat, then thin, then fat again. It looks to me like it's been traced. You know, this is really flat here. So I'm not keen on that. I don't think that really works very well. The face is all right. I'd say it's quite a nicely done face. We've talked about this before. It can be difficult to do a simplified face and have it look, you know, nice. It can sometimes look really awkward. As Sani's already posted, I just want to say, remember, if you're watching this live, you can leave your comments and thoughts on the logo looking at in the chat, and I will take a look at them as well, because I want to hear what your thoughts are, how you could potentially improve this logo. What would you change? What are your thoughts on it? Yeah, so Sani's saying take away the black CC, and then Tashinga's saying he thinks it would look like a generic beauty logo. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, what do we do? Does it, it's targeting these personalities and audiences, but we can't really redesign a logo here. There's no time for that. So generally, what I'll be doing is giving advice on how you could potentially improve this logo here. I think there are some things which are okay with it. Like I say, I think the face is fairly well done. I'm not keen on the colors. I don't think this pink goes with this green. The green is quite dark, almost moss-like. Now I know it's a natural skincare thing, but it's potentially the pink color of the CC which is throwing me off. And then you've got this black, really heavy black symbol as well, which is fighting for visibility. And the face is pointing to the left. Generally, I think it'd be better if it was pointing to the right. I don't know why I feel that way. I just think pointing backwards, I don't know, just feel it's maybe going the right way. So I did do a very quick sort of, I suppose you could say, a reworking of it, where, and I'm aware of what Tashinga said, where it can look like just a generic beauty type of logo. But the things that I did here were, I took away the nostril from the face. I took this nostril away because I just didn't feel like it was necessary, and it was just adding extra noise to the face. And I think by taking the nostril away, it actually makes the face look smoother, which kind of, lends itself more to the skincare thing, that sort of blemish-free look that people are wanting. So by minimizing the face even more, it's like already minimal, minimizing it more, you can kind of take that away. And then and as you can see as well, I flipped it so it's facing to the right. I just added in another sort of strand of hair at the front, because I felt on this, the forehead looks really large. To me, it looks like a really, really big forehead. So I just threw this in quickly, just, to sort of make it look like there was hair sort of coming down the other side. It would need work. It may be that it needs, maybe some more strands coming down on the other side of that. And then I've brightened the colors. So I've gone for a brighter green and a brighter pink. I feel that it gives more vibrance. Again, if you're thinking about, the skincare, people are looking for, I think, they want their skin to glow. I know you're using natural products, which tend to look, the natural products themselves tend to look muddy, and, like face packs and things tend to be muddy and dark green or dark browns. But what I think you should be doing is giving more of the outcome. What will the client feel? What will they receive once they've used those products? How will they feel? They'll feel refreshed and brighter and vibrant and more smooth and, blemish free. So it depends on how you want to look at it. If you want to have your logo to look more like the products and that natural thing, I don't think that this is the right approach for that. I think you want to use a more organic set of typography. This double C I would get rid of anyway, no matter what. But I think you might want, potentially look at a different typography. But if you're looking for, to be brighter and, like refreshed, then definitely I would go for some brighter colors. I've just stuck with the pink and green because that's what you had. And I just think simplifying the face down. I also tilted the face forward. It is in your one, it's ever so slightly raised, and so it's kind of raising the chin, and I don't know, it feels a bit aloof, and I thought, just bringing it down just ever so slightly just kind of lowers that a little bit, and I felt that just seemed to be more natural than kind of lifting your head up. Mark's saying flip the face to look to the right and reshape the hair into the CC. I thought that as well, Mark. There wasn't time for me to do it. I did try to do it quickly, but it looked terrible. But because the hair's already, like you said, it's almost a CC here, So if you could get it so that, I've almost, without this curve goes up into here, but by bringing this one in, what you're then doing is you're kind of almost starting at the tip of the C. So you could do something with the hair, as Mark said, and make it a CC. That could work, and then help bring that together. Sunny's saying, what image can you use for skin? Do you mean to represent skin or an actual image of skin? The thick black lines are harsh and confining, which seems to work against the brand. It's also missing elegance. I agree. I don't think that this works at all. Even if you just took that away and you kept this as is, if you just got rid of these, that already looks better than the CC being around it. If it was a case of you wanted to have, so you were wanting a symbol to use on its own, again, you don't really need to do that. You could put a shape or even just a circle around the face, and that would probably be enough. Sunny's saying exclude the hair so the focus is on skin. If you took the hair away, you could do that because it's like focusing on the face. I would probably want to work with this, a bit more. You could, start to maybe do something more with the text of it. You could start playing around with, well, where does the text go? Can we do something with the face so that it's, integrated with it? I don't know. That looks terrible. But you know what I mean. If you're going to take the hair away, I would like to see an attempt at doing something with the hair to try and do a CC and see if that would work. I think there's potential in that for that to work. Use leaves plus hand, which translates to care. Yeah, that could then the thing with it's the same as having the face. If you bring in leaves and stuff, it's quite, I'd say, cliched, for organic and stuff. But if it's done well, then that could work. To be honest, you could even, rather than doing a CC, this hair is although it's almost like a CC, but it's almost leaf shaped as well. So if you wanted to go, and do a leaf shape, and you could have the, so the hair could maybe be potentially a slightly different color to the face. So rather than pink, if you went maybe more, well, actually you could go, if you were going to do leaves, you wouldn't have it brown, but you could change. You could just go for like different hues of green and sort of work with that rather than the pink. I don't know if the pink's there because it's meant to represent more feminine side of things, pink for girls, blue for boys, but I think that whole mentality around pink and blue is changing anyway. But I know that it's quite ingrained in certain cultures that those are the pink for girls, blue for boys. and so it depends on, again, target audiences and ages and things that you have there. But yeah, if you wanted to go kind of all in on the natural side of things, then you could, you could go down that route and make this sort of look more, like leaves. I'm not going to do it, but if you made sort of the line, if you did some sort of line shapes, this isn't deselecting. That's terrible. But yeah, if you made some line shapes to try to make it look like a leaf, you could do that. That's another option. So I think, the CC one is a good option. I would kind of play with that with the hair to try and come up with something there. But there's definitely, like you've said, Connie, there's something there, but it's not hitting the mark. And I think you need to do some more development of it. And like I've mentioned as well, think about the outcomes or make a decision on what it is you want to do. Do you want to focus on the logo representing the products, or do you want to kind of have the logo represent the feeling and the outcome that the client is going to have after using the products, and try to get that, try to go down one of those routes, I think would work. There, Sandy's saying you could mirror the face left and right. I don't know. I don't know what that would achieve doing that. It's just going to make the logo... I'm a big fan of taking stuff away from logos rather than adding stuff in, because it's just going to, just makes everything busier, or more busy, and then it just, if you could do something where the negative space represented something, you've almost got shoulders there. If that was that'd be a weird shaped head to have. It looks more. It starts to look more like a dating agency or a conversation app or something like that. So I think having the single face also brings the focus on that person. So it's like, when someone's looking at the logo, they're putting themselves into that position of this. That could be my face. I want my face to look as, blemish free as that, rather than bringing in too many. But yeah, so yeah, we could go on as usual. We could go on tweaking things little by little. But Connie, I think you've got something to work with there, and you could always, if you're watching this back, you can go through the chat and see what suggestions others are making, and you can maybe pull something from that. Okay, cool. So next one is from Sabrina, and this one's called Sabbies, and the industry sector is fashion and home. Target audience is unisex, but mainly female, 25 plus, mid to high end price point. Brand personality, fun, playful, eco-friendly, empowering, a real mix. Colours were chosen for earthiness, organic, and the same with the fonts. Brand qualities, sustainable, organic, and eco-friendly handmade clothing. Looking to extend into home decor eventually, but not yet. Would like the logo to be versatile enough to do this. Other info, so Sabrina uploaded 2 designs. Not sure which to go with. Also not sure on whether to keep the handmade element. Both are based on the sun and the moon, chosen due to the polarity of the two. The representation of different sides, personalities, thoughts, attitudes of us all, to us all, is also recognisable to different cultures worldwide and is known for unity and cooperation, which with the brand being eco-friendly, I feel ties in well. The vast meanings that they symbolise is something I wish to play with. Okay. I'm just going to quickly read one last comment on the last one. So, Ludwig saying, I would recommend to keep the face but remove the hair, because the hair can be confusing for customers since it may represent a salon place. Maybe try adding some skincare object instead of hair. Yep, there is that as well. you know. But when you look at other brands, you know, you've got Olay, they have a face, and they're all skincare products. It's not, and that's what this logo reminded me of, was Olay. I think they used to be called Ulay, but I think they're now called Olay. And this really reminded me of that, where they use a face and stuff in it as well. But yeah, I totally get your point on that. It can look like a beauty salon. It's like Tashinga, I think, said earlier on. It can, you know, it can be, you know, sort of misrepresented with that. But yeah, I think if you change, so for example, if you change the hair to a leaf, then you're reflecting the natural part of the products, which then would take it away from being a salon. But if it's meant to look like hair, then yes, it could look like a beauty salon. Back to Sabrina's. So this is logo 1 that Sabrina submitted for Sabbies. This is the color palette. I just extracted that because Sabrina gave me a graphic with the logo on it, and it was about 6 foot high. So I've had to kind of break it up so we can see as much of it on screen all at the same time. So this is the sort of the primary logo, and then some different color variations down here. And I actually looked at the logo before I read Sabrina's text. I'd like to do that. I just want to kind of have a look at it and see what first impressions I get before I get any more information. And to be honest, I didn't clock that this was meant to be a sun and a moon. I didn't get that. I just thought that this was the sort of a rounded end to the top of the S, because you see, you know, stylized lettering like that where there's gaps in the letters, and this to me just, you know, looked like this line would continue and it would end in a circle, and then the bottom of the S would continue and just end normally. And I thought that's all that was happening here, was that there was gaps taken out. I hadn't realized that it was a sun and a moon. So I don't know if there would need to be something done to make that a little bit more obvious. The actual logo, I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll zoom right in. Sabrina has put a texture on here, so there is a like a grunge texture on the symbol, which I quite like. It brings that sort of natural earthiness to it, and I do think that the color palette does match up to what she's trying to get across with this logo. Vasquez is saying that the sun and the moon should be bigger. I've not actually done any work on this one. I don't think. I can't remember. But I think there does need to be some emphasis in some way. I think the colours are maybe too close as well. Maybe the moon and the sun need to be 2 different colours to represent, you know, that sun and the moon. I mean, now that I know it's a sun and a moon, I go, oh yeah, it's a sun and a moon. But I think, you know, it took me a little, I had to read that text for it to come out. Others may see it, you know, more quickly. I don't know if there's going to be a strap line or a tagline, you know, that may help, you know, something about, you know, sun and moon or something like that would help that. Looking at the color variations, so, you know, here we can see we now do have a different color for the sun and a different color for the moon. I don't think it's enough. Maybe it's the color choice that's really not bringing that out for me. And in terms of the type, I'm not sure. I do actually feel this is a strange logo for me, because I do actually, it does have a fashion home interiors brand feel to it. When I think about sort of those types of shops here in Scotland anyway, or in the UK, if I put that next to, you know, some of these other big brands that are in the same space, I think this would fit. I do think it would fit. And my concern about bringing more impact to the sun and the moon may off balance that a little bit, and then make it look like it's sort of, you know, more about tarot card reading and things like that. It's a fine line here for that. Mark said, I like the subtle hidden elephant. It's getting late. Not elephant, element of the sun and the moon. The representation doesn't have to be immediately obvious. I agree, and that's why I don't think it should be emphasized too much, you know, made bigger. I think having it there, and this is the thing as well, we're just looking at a logo. It could be that in the wider branding, for some of the past logos, some people have uploaded other brand assets, you know, where they've used the logo in situations. And so I could potentially see the sun and the moon element being used independently in the wider branding, which would then help people to see that it's a sun and a moon inside that S. So it's difficult to judge a logo in isolation. I do always love to see wider branding because it really helps build the picture. And that's what I do when I'm presenting a logo to a client. I never just present it like this. I always present it showing it in situ on things. Here's how the logo will work on this. Here's how it could look on a brochure, and we could use these elements of the logo for these parts of the wider visual language, and it really, really helps. And like I say, I like it. I think it fits in that space. The color palette I really, really like. I love that muted feel to it. It just makes me think. And the weird thing is that I know that you've sort of said, Sabrina, you've said that right now it's organic and eco-friendly handmade clothing, but you want to extend into home decor. This just says home decor to me. It just says warm. Feels, just looks like material, you know, kind of. I don't know. There's just something about it that fits that space. But obviously it fits a certain type of clothing and style and fashion as well. But if you were wanting to move this brand into home decor, I don't see, you know, any problem with that at all. I think it could seamlessly move across into that. Mobius is saying this has a nice feel. It's a great palette. Mark's added, I think the Sabbies logo works well as is. Can it be better? Sure, but can every logo in existence? Exactly. And that's why we needed to move on from Connie's one, is that we all have opinions and we can all tweak things and we all want to make it thing. And honestly, I think this fits what it's trying to achieve. I would love to see, Sabrina, I would love to see you using this to advertise, even if it's just the fashion side of it. How would you use this? How do you see this on posters and things? I would love to see this in an expanded way, because I think it would really help showcase this logo and how it looks. I'm not averse to the type. I think that, you know, I think it works. I don't know though if it looks to me like that may be a type that's been squashed. Don't shoot me if it isn't. If that's the way that typeface is, that font is, you know, you type out and that's how it is, fine. But it looks to me like it may have been squashed. I don't know, there's just something about it. But let's not forget that Sabrina did do a second logo for this brand as well. Oh yeah, okay, I did outline that actually. I didn't do anything with it though. But what, just out of curiosity, so this is, obviously this is traced, so this isn't going to be perfect. But this type, if I stretch this, see, that to me looks like a better proportioned type. I don't know. this just looks really squashed to me. And I think as well, I think, you know, by having, I mean, I may be doing the exact opposite of what or I may be doing what I'm telling people not to. If this font is like this, I'm now being sacrilegious and stretching it. But I think that that maybe having an S, which is more reflective of this S, maybe works, or maybe having this very different to this helps this stand out more. Maybe that's what's kind of throwing me off from this, but yeah, it's but yeah, you know, the type has character, which is what we're always looking for character, but I just feel like it's been squashed like that. I may be wrong. I'd love to know, Sabrina. Let me know if that's you know, been compressed in any way, or if that's how you got it. So where's the other one? What did I do with the other one? Have I lost it? Oh, I think I moved it to the bottom. Here's the other one. So this is the other one. Okay. Big difference. Let's just bring down this so we you know, we've got one next to the other. This is a big difference in terms of style. And this is where, you know, Sabrina was saying that she had the word handmade in there. But I don't know about you guys, but this feels more like a jeweler's, or like a handmade jewelry logo. Just feels like, you know, it's like a ring with a bling coming off of it. I mean, obviously we've got the moon, and then you kind of got the sun's rays, so you've got that sun and moon thing going on here. I say this a lot. I'm a big fan of simple logo design, so this second one is a bit too busy for me. And then, you know, I think when you get to small sizes, when you start to compress that down, you know, you're going to start to run into issues with that. Whereas, you know, with the Sabbies one, you can get that down to, you know, you can just keep going with that, and that's going to still be legible. You're still going to see that at small sizes. So, you know, I don't think this one is this second option here. I don't think it's nearly as successful. Not going by everything that you said here, Sabrina. For me, this one doesn't really fit that criteria. Like I said, this feels more like a jeweler's or a craft type brand. Whereas the other one really seems to fit more the fashion home decor stuff. Mark's saying, oh, somebody else has joined. What's that? X-Killer. Hey, X-Killer, thanks for joining. He's saying, great watching you live. I appreciate it. Mark's first logo for sure is way more applications. Yeah. So there's so much can be done with this, which is why I really want to see Sabrina send over some stuff with that there. Tashinga likes the first one too. Mobius, would this maybe be an exception to your rule? Logo S as a first letter. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to make me change my rule, Mobius, of using the icon as the first letter. And I think even in this instance, yeah, I don't think I would use it as the first letter. You know, if you scale it down, to me, that now looks like sort of snake shape Abbeys. My eye doesn't naturally read that as Sabbies. You would need to have the type in a similar design, I think. You would need to, again, this is, you know what we're like on these streams, guys. We shortcut everything and it doesn't look great, but we're just trying to get across the actual idea of it. You know, you would need to, I think, almost break up. I'm doing this really badly. I don't know, how does a Y get broken up? Is it just like a... I don't know. Terribly done, terribly done. But in order to get that to read as a word, for me, the rest of the type would need to be in a similar way, because otherwise it just, to me, it just reads like Abby's. But maybe to others it doesn't. Maybe it reads Sabbies to everyone else really easily. Tashinga's saying the second one could be used for like a yoga company maybe. You know what? See, because you've just said that, Tashinga, there is a yoga company next door to where I go to the gym, and I think their logo is very much like this secondary option. In fact, I'd put money on it. I'm sure it's very similar to that. That's weird that you've said that. You know, that you had that kind of yoga feel to it. I'm sure it is, because I'm sure it's like a sunburst type logo. And I remember I've walked past it many a time going, the only way their logo works is the way they have it, the size they have it on their door. I guarantee it, really small sizes, that logo's hard. And I've said that to myself when I've walked past it. That's so strange that you said that it looks like a yoga logo, because it's quite similar. That is weird. Movie, a second option seems great for packaging background. And he's having a little bit of a laugh at me demonstrating my my rule for first letters in logos. Yeah, I mean, that, I suppose, yeah, you could use that as packaging, you like wrapping paper or whatever, but I don't think there's I think it doesn't really gel with this. Yes, you've got the moon and sun motif, but the simplified version here on Sabbies is just better executed, I think. It's in terms of, for a logo design, she's, you know, done what taken as much away as she can and is left with the essence of what she's trying to get across, and I think it's a good execution there. Trendy's turned up. Thank you for my logo review. I appreciate your feedback, and I totally agree with your advice. I had that logo professionally designed, and I just never really was satisfied with it. I need one soon. No problem. It's like anyone that submits these logos, anyone that asks for advice and stuff on, in public spaces like this, to get critiques and things, I do try to be, I'm critical, and I'm trying to be positive with my critiques of these. There's usually ways to improve on things. I just don't. You see people giving feedback at times saying it's not very good. I wouldn't have done that, and I wouldn't do this, and I wouldn't do that, without giving any. Well, what would you do? What advice can you give me? So sometimes it may seem like it can come like there's not much can be done or taken forward. But like on last week's stream, where Matt had submitted his logo, which was the EHAS one. If you go back and look on that, he put that in, and it was so busy and there was so much going on, and it really wasn't working, and it was difficult to critique that and kind of give Matt some advice on how we could move that forward. And between myself and the input from you guys in the chat, we were able to come to some directions and stuff. And just to let you know that Matt has actually been working on that, and he has sent me over an update. I didn't want to do it on the stream today because I want to give Matt some more feedback, to give him some time to work on it. And then what we'll do is we will compare that first one he sent in with the second one, and we'll see the journey that Matt's taken, both in sort of how he's now looking at logos, because he's learning as well. And once when someone starts to look at logos in a different way and how they should be developed and taken forward, it's really interesting to see the thinking that goes behind the second idea compared to the first one. Is that way of thinking now being simplified, or is it still as complex as it was before? So I hope you guys are kind of excited to see where Matt takes that. But yeah, we'll have a look at that, I think, on the next live stream. But yeah, definitely, Sabrina, this first option, I think you've done a great job with this. Why is that not pasting in here? It's pasting it someplace else. You've done a great job. I got the instant feel of what you said over here for this one. I think it just matched with what you're trying to do. And this bottom one, it's too complex, it's too complicated, too many small parts in there that could get lost. And yeah, definitely I wouldn't have... So you've got Sabbies handmade there, right? And that's probably another thing which is throwing me off on that logo. I'm not too keen on that. But if you have if you developed a tagline or a strapline under here, it doesn't have to be something witty or anything that rhymes, but just something along the lines of that it's sustainable organic clothing or something, and then that could be changed over time to sustainable organic homewares and clothing or whatever, so people can see what it's about. But even without it, it has a certain feeling to it, and if I had to guess, if I'd seen this and I had to guess what industry it was for, my first guess would have been the home decor side of it. That was the first thing that came to me, and then probably would have moved into something like clothing or fashion afterwards. But yeah, so hey Sophia, we're actually just about to finish. I think you've joined quite late in the day previously as well, so I'm sorry that we're finishing up again just as you joined. That's a pity, but you could always go back and review everything. We talked about lots of things today. We talked about Pantone books, we talked about Pantone Connect, we talked about Swatshows, we talked about RAL Colours, books, and we've done our logo reviews. Yeah, it's been another 2-hour stream. These 1-hour time limits I'm giving myself are not really going very well, but you know what? It's obviously needed, and the time just flies by. And very grateful if you're watching this as a replay and you've made it all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. For more information that I send out monthly, you can sign up to my monthly email, which is called Rock Your Brand, and you can sign up to that at rockyourbrand.co.uk. I won't be here next week because I'm actually getting a tattoo next week, late in the afternoon, so I won't be home in time to do the stream. So I'm going to give it 2 weeks, and I'm thinking I'm actually going to move the stream to every 2 weeks. Doing it every week is a bit of a rush for me because I'm trying to get everything ready, but if I can do it every 2 weeks, I think that's a good time gap for me. It will help me to be better on the stream, be more organized. For the guys that joined right at the start, I was a bit flustered at the start of this stream because I was like running around trying to get my webcam set up so that we could do the webcam stuff on my lighting and so it wasn't reflecting off of things. So getting 2 weeks just gives me more time to get things together. Plus I'm on holiday in August, so if we do the 2 week time scale thing, it actually falls on okay, so I can still do the stream every 2 weeks. Esteban, again, thank you so much for your kind comments. AK saying he can barely hear me. I speak too quietly. Get a good microphone. I have a very good microphone. Anyone else having problems hearing me? Just post in the chat if you find that I'm too quiet. I mean, I'm looking at the volume on my software, and it's peaking up into the amber, so I don't want to have that too high. But yeah, I've not had anyone else say that I'm too quiet. Usually if I'm too quiet, that comes in right at the start of the stream. I will watch the replay and listen to the audio, but I have watched all my other ones. I've not changed any settings. But like I say, I have a very good microphone. I'm not using some cheap rubbish. So I'm sorry you can't hear me. Yeah, so Esteban's saying he can hear me fine. Sani's saying they can hear me fine. So I don't know if it's something at your end, AK. Ephraim's saying he can hear me well. So yeah, it's obviously at your end. Rather than me getting a better microphone, maybe you need better speakers. Everybody's saying audio is perfect at their side. So yeah, apologies that you're not hearing it very well, AK. But sounds like it's your side. Okay, everyone. We're coming up for 2 hours. Just always check the community page on the YouTube channel. I always keep everybody up to date on there. I'll try to use it more. Try to put some stuff in there. Mobius is saying he's set up Pantone Connect during this. Awesome, brilliant, good stuff. And yeah, you know, if you've never listened to the band Clutch, you're missing out. Best band on the planet, in my opinion. Very upbeat. If you're feeling down and miserable, throw some Clutch on, and it'll make you happy. Okie doke. Right, everyone, I'm going to scoot off. I will see you in a couple of weeks. And just remember, stay creative. Bye for now, folks.